In part 2 of lecture 1, we will discuss using input. We're going to rewrite the average program, and we want it to be able to use any three numbers. That means we are going to need to use variables, and just as importantly, we are going to need to use input, and we're going to get our first look at that. Our algorithm breaks down into 4 steps. First, we need to find our three values. Then we need to add them together. Third, we need to divide that sum by 3. And fourth, we need to print the result. Most programs will need some form of input. As a matter of fact, it's very rare to find programs that don't. For now, all of our input will come from the keyboard. Later on, we'll see how to read input from files as well as how to write to files. And of course, graphical user interfaces are used very heavily in Java, but we're not going to get to that this semester. To read in a value, we're going to need to use a sort of object, and this object will belong to a class called scanner. The way in which we will make this available to us is to include at the beginning of the main method the line that you see on the screen. Scanner keyboard equals new scanner system.in. Later in the semester, we'll get a very good look at what exactly this means, and then you'll come to understand what this is all about. For now, it's just going to be boilerplate. Once we have declared keyboard as an object of the class scanner, we can now read integer values fairly easily. We have the name of the variable where we will store this input. We have an equal sign, and then keyboard.nextInt. Now notice again, nextInt is a method, and we need open and close parentheses even though there is nothing inside. This belongs to the object known as keyboard, and we'll talk more about this in a few weeks as we get into objects. Let's take a look at our program. To be able to use the scanner class, there is software I need to make available to my program. I do this by writing at the beginning import java.util.scanner and then a semicolon. This makes this particular class, which is hidden in a directory called util, and it makes it available for the program. It now knows what a scanner is and knows how to make use of it. Public class average 3b, and then an open brace. I begin the main method again with public static void main, and in parentheses, string open close bracket args. I end the line with an open brace, and now I go into the main program. Int sum, comma, average. I now have them both declared, and I now declare the scanner object by writing scanner keyboard equals new scanner system.in in parentheses and a semicolon. And now one by one, I'll read the three values to average. System.out.println, what is the first value? The \t that you see there is a tab, and I tab over from the end of that line with a question mark. This is where the value will be written in. Int value 1 equals keyboard.nextInt, and now value 1 has a value from input. System.out.println, what is the second value? Tab and a question mark in quotation marks in parentheses, and a semicolon at the end. Int value 2 equals keyboard.nextInt, open and close parentheses. And now to read in the third value, we prompt the user again. System.out.println, what is the third value? Tab and a question mark, all of this inside quotation marks, and all of that inside parentheses, and a semicolon at the end. Int, value 3 equals keyboard.nextInt, open and close parentheses. Sum equals value 1 plus value 2 plus value 3. Average equals sum divided by 3. System out println, the average is, and then a plus sign and average, close the parenthesis, and a semicolon, and 2 close braces, 1 for the main method, and the outer one for the class. Now you'll notice here I sort of mixed metaphors. I declared the values as being integer as I got ready to read values in. There are different approaches that different people take as to when to declare variables in a method. I'm using sort of a mixture of the two, and I realize that either way of doing it is fine as long as whoever is reading the program can make sense of all of this. We are now going to take a look at another example. We're going to calculate a payroll. Our program is going to calculate gross pay for someone who is earning an hourly wage. We will need 2 pieces of information: the hourly rate of pay and the number of hours worked. Now, we are going to expect exactly one output right now, just the gross pay. And we will find this by doing the following calculation, that gross pay equals the rate of pay times the hours worked. Yes, I am aware that we are not accounting for time and a half for overtime. Yes, I'm aware that we are not deducting taxes. We will add on those features and handle those issues later on. We begin the program, as we will continue to do, with import java.util.scanner semicolon to make the scanner class available to our program. The header for the program will be public class payroll and open brace. And then to begin the main program, or the main method, public static void main, open parenthesis, string open close brackets, args, close parenthesis, open brace. We now declare the scanner. Scanner keyboard equals new scanner system.in. We prompt the user, system out println, what is your hourly pay rate? And below that, double rate equals keyboard.next double. Just as we have next int to read in integer values, we have next double to read in double or double precision floating point values. We will just call them double for obvious reasons. It's easier to deal with. And now to get the hours worked, system out println, paren, quote, how many hours did you work, question mark, quote, close paren, semicolon. Double hours equal keyboard.next double, open close parenthesis, semicolon. Double gross equals rate times hours, semicolon. System.out.println, open paren, quote, your gross pay is $, close quote, plus gross, close parenthesis, semicolon. Closing brace to end the main method, and a closing brace to end the program. You may have already noticed that our programs are getting longer than the ones we have previously written. And if we didn't know how to calculate gross pay, we might not be able to determine it from this program alone. It becomes very important as programs get longer and longer to be able to add text to it that will explain how the program works. This text that we insert is called a comment. Comments are meant for the human reader, not for the computer. We saw these in Python. Here in Java, anything on a line after 2 slashes directly one after the other is taken as a comment. If I need to write comments that are much, much longer, I can begin them with a slash and an asterisk, and I can end them with an asterisk and a slash. Here you see our program with comments added to it. At the beginning of the class, right after the class's header, but before writing the header for the main method, I have a comment that explains the program as a whole. This program calculates the gross pay for an hourly worker. Inputs, hourly rate, and hours worked. Output, gross pay. And you see them all together as one large comment, even though I have indicated separately on each line. Below, after I declare keyboard, as I get ready to read in my first value, I write get the hourly rate, and immediately below that I do exactly that. Having read in the pay rate, I now have a comment, get the hours worked, and below that I prompt the user and read in the hours worked. I have one last comment here, calculate and display the gross pay, and below that I calculate the gross pay and then I print it out on the screen. One of the things that separates a computer from a programmable calculator is that we can use these to manipulate things other than just numbers. And one thing I'll definitely want to be able to work with is text, regular character data. We can read in single characters by writing char x, y. Now, x and y each can only hold one character. That's it. For now, we will use this only for input and output, but we will talk more about this in later weeks. We are not going to be that interested most of the time in only manipulating one character at a time. And we certainly will want to be able to store a group of characters together. These groups of characters are referred to as strings. And if I want to work with something holding more than one character, what I will do is write string s equals new string with open and close parentheses there. That means s is going to be a string and I can make use of it as of now. But if I wanted to have an initial value, what I will write is something a little different. String s equals new string, and inside the parentheses, inside quotation marks, is initial value. Now for now, I'm only going to use these for input-output, but we will take a better look at this in the upcoming weeks. Our next program is an example of how we can work with character data. As always, we'll start off with import java.util.scanner, so we can make use of what we have here. Public class polite, and open brace, begins our class. The first thing we have inside the class is a comment after the two slashes, a very polite program that greets you by name. We begin the main method, as always, with public static void main, and then open parenthesis, string, open close brackets, args, and then a close parenthesis, and then open brace to begin the main method. We will declare the two variables that we have here. String name equals new string. Scanner keyboard equals new scanner system in. Now we'll have a comment where we say that we ask the user his or her name. System out println, what is your name? Name equals keyboard.next. And then we'll greet the user by writing system out println, glad to meet you, name. Now, next is similar to next int and next double. It will read from the current cursor position up until the next white space character it sees, either a blank space or a tab or a new line.